actually agree with Gary Stevenson on one thing. Britain has a problem. Inequality is real. People are struggling to buy homes and feed their families and build a future. But here's where we completely disagree. The solution isn't to punish wealth. It's to create more of it. Gary's idea, tax the wealth, not work, sounds great on a poster, but like every feel-good slogan, it falls apart the moment you apply it to reality. Because whatever you tax, you get less of. If you tax work, you get less work. If you tax wealth, you get less wealth. And that means fewer jobs, lower wages, and a poorer country. We've seen this movie before. There's been 15 attempts at wealth taxes, and 12 of them were scrapped because they did more harm than good. France lost 60,000 millionaires and billions in investment before admitting it was a complete disaster. So you don't fix inequality by making everyone poorer. You fix it by creating an economy where people can rise. I don't want to live in a country where there's poverty and crime and that's the norm. I want to live in a country where small businesses grow, wages rise, and opportunities everywhere. But that won't happen by taking money from people who have already built something. It will happen when we build a system that helps everyone build. And that's where Gary's ideas collapse, because they don't grow the pie, they just shrink it and hand more power to the government. If I genuinely believed that wealth taxes made the country richer, I'd agree with him. But they don't. They've failed every time they've been tried. I've had so many messages asking me to give my opinion on Gary Stevenson due to coming from similar backgrounds, both being traders. So here we go. Because a lot of people don't understand this stuff or see the consequences. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down exactly what would happen step by step if we followed Gary's plan, and why it would leave you, me, and the entire middle class worse off than we are today. Because this isn't about protecting the rich. It's about protecting the opportunity for everyone to get rich. Here's what actually happens when a wealth tax is introduced. This is the reality check, and it's a logical sledgehammer. So here we go. So step one is the announcement. The government announces a one-time or modest wealth tax on the rich, and it's marketed emotionally. We're just asking the billionaires to pay their fair share. What that will result in is a popular applause, moral victory, and zero immediate revenue because wealthy individuals don't hold liquid cash, they hold assets. We then go to step two. Step two is asset flight. The wealthy, the ones who are funding startups, employing people and investing, start moving their assets offshore. And what does that result in? Well, investment leaves, startups lose funding, high earners emigrate, and the tax base shrinks. France lost 60,000 millionaires after introducing a wealth tax. That's why it was later scrapped. Step 3, government panic and the threshold creep. So to keep revenue flowing, governments lower the threshold. First 5 million, then 1 million, then 500,000. And suddenly the middle class homeowners are paying wealth tax. This isn't the first time they did this. They did this with VAT. It was 15%. And they said, oh, we're just going to creep it up a little bit to 17.5%, but it won't do too much harm and it'll only be temporary. Then it went to 18%. Then it went to 20%. And it's never ever gone down since. They did the same with inheritance tax. They're now talking about reducing the threshold of inheritance tax. And the result will be ordinary savers and property owners, they'll get hit. Pension funds are affected, middle class resentment starts to grow massively. Sweden scrapped its wealth tax when it started punishing its own citizens while foreign billionaires paid nothing. And that leads to step 4. Foreign billionaires move in and local wealth creators leave. So they leave, but foreign wealth funds and tax-exempt investors, they all move in to buy assets cheap. What that results in is Britain doesn't get richer, it gets sold off. Local ownership collapses, profits leave the country. All you're doing is trading the family of Westminster for the royal family of Qatar. Step 5, increased borrowing and spending. So with new revenue projected, government takes on more loans and bureaucracy. And then what will happen then is the national debt will grow faster than the new tax revenue. Inflation rises, cost of living soars through the roof, the poor get poorer, much poorer. No matter how much you take from the rich, it will never be enough for a government with a spending problem. Then there's step 6, economic stagnation. Investment dries up, small businesses stop hiring, innovation slows, and what that will result in is GDP contracts, wages freeze, unemployment rises. And I can't help but think that if Gary had a football team that was losing, he would punish his top striker. That's exactly what this policy is doing to an economy. And then finally, step 7, the collapse and the rollback. Within a few years, the government will quietly repeal the wealth tax, admitting it costs more to administer than it raises. What happens then? Well, trust in government collapses. Wealth gap widens because the rich have already restructured and the middle class can't. Everyone ends up poorer. This has happened in France, Germany, Denmark, Finland, and Sweden. Fairness is about opportunity, not confiscation. You can't build a stronger middle class by weakening the economy that supports it. We need to grow wealth, not redistribute poverty. Freedom and opportunity have lifted more people out of poverty than any tax policy in history. Look, I completely understand why people love Gary's message. It sounds fair, it sounds moral, it sounds like hope. But the truth is, it's false hope. It's been tried, tested, and failed in almost every country that's done it. You don't fix inequality by punishing success. You fix it by creating an environment where people can succeed. You don't make the country richer by chasing away the people who've built it. You make it richer by empowering everyone to create. If we tax wealth, we'll have less of it. If we punish growth, we'll have none of it. And the middle class, the very people that Gary says he's fighting for, will be the ones that suffer most. I want to see a Britain that's strong. I want to see a Britain that's innovative and growing, a country that rewards effort and supports entrepreneurs and gives every single person the opportunity to build their own version of wealth, whatever that looks like, because that's real fairness, that's real hope, and that's the only path that's ever made people truly free. The bottom line is, complex problems require smart systems, not emotional slogans. I want a solution as much as Gary, but I'm definitely not into selling false hope and pipe dreams like him and some of his mates seem to have been doing recently. And lastly, I just want to say this, an observation I've made. I've seen him take 3 breaks from YouTube in the last 18 months. When you're congruent and authentically speaking about things that you believe in, you don't experience burnout or the need for breaks. In fact, you don't want the days to end. I don't. Yet he's taken 3 breaks from YouTube in the last 18 months. He's needed a break. To me, that's a clear indication of his internal mechanism telling him to stop going against what he truly believes. But I think he's in too far now, and I think he's almost a slave to this media that he's created. So come on, Gary, let's solve this together, mate. There's a saying, be careful what you wish for. And with that said, you guys let me know in the comments what you think and what you're wishing for, because I'm going to read every single comment. And until next time, I'll see you in the next one.